For years, we relied on tools like polygraphs to detect lies. These machines, often depicted in movies and TV shows, have become synonymous with the idea of uncovering the truth. The polygraph measures physiological responses such as heart rate, blood pressure, and skin conductivity, which are believed to change when a person is lying. The theory is that when someone tells a lie, their body reacts in ways that can be measured and recorded. We believed in their power to expose deceit. The polygraph was seen as a near-foolproof method, a scientific approach to catching liars. Law enforcement agencies, employers, and even some private individuals have used polygraphs to try to get to the bottom of the truth. The idea was simple. If you were telling the truth, you had nothing to fear. However, research shows these methods are flawed. Studies have demonstrated that polygraphs are not as reliable as once thought. The accuracy of polygraph tests has been called into question, with some studies suggesting they are only slightly better than chance at detecting lies. This has led to a growing skepticism about their effectiveness. They measure physiological responses like sweating or increased heart rate. These responses are part of the body's natural reaction to stress, known as the fight or flight response. When a person is stressed, their body releases adrenaline, which can cause their heart to race, their palms to sweat, and their blood pressure to rise. These responses can indicate stress, but stress doesn't always mean lying. People can experience stress for a variety of reasons, many of which have nothing to do with deception. For example, someone might be nervous because they are afraid of being falsely accused, or because they are uncomfortable with the testing process itself. Innocent people can be nervous. Imagine being in a high-stakes situation where your honesty is being questioned. Even if you are telling the truth, the pressure and anxiety can cause your body to react in ways that might be misinterpreted as signs of lying. Guilty people can be calm. On the other hand, some individuals are skilled at controlling their physiological responses. They might remain calm and composed even when they are lying, making it difficult for a polygraph to detect their deception. This ability to control one's physiological responses can render the polygraph ineffective. We need a more reliable way to unmask deception. The limitations of traditional lie detection methods have led researchers to explore alternative approaches. One promising area of research is the analysis of verbal and nonverbal cues. By examining the way people speak and behave, it may be possible to identify patterns that are indicative of lying. The answer lies in our words. Language analysis can provide valuable insights into the cognitive processes associated with lying. When people lie, they often experience cognitive load, which can affect their speech patterns. For example, they might use more complex sentences, hesitate more often, or provide less detail than when they are telling the truth. Traditional lie detection methods often fail to differentiate between fear, anxiety, and actual deception. This is a significant drawback as it can lead to false positives and false negatives. A false positive occurs when an innocent person is incorrectly identified as lying, while a false negative occurs when a guilty person is incorrectly identified as telling the truth. This is because these methods rely on physiological responses that can be triggered by a variety of factors. For example, someone might be nervous because they are afraid of the consequences of being caught, or because they are uncomfortable with the testing process itself. These factors can cause physiological responses that are similar to those associated with lying. For example, someone who is innocent but afraid of being wrongly accused may exhibit the same physiological responses as someone who is guilty and trying to hide it. This makes it difficult to accurately interpret the results of a polygraph test, as the same physiological responses can be caused by different underlying factors. Furthermore, polygraphs and similar techniques require specialized equipment and trained professionals to administer and interpret the results. This makes them impractical for many situations, as the equipment is expensive and the training is time-consuming. Additionally, the results of a polygraph test can be influenced by the skill and experience of the examiner, adding another layer of complexity. This makes them inaccessible in many situations, especially in everyday life, where deception is encountered most frequently. In our daily interactions, we often need to assess the honesty of others, whether it's in personal relationships, business dealings, or social interactions. Traditional lie detection methods are not practical for these situations, as they require specialized equipment and trained professionals. The limitations of traditional lie detection methods highlight the need for a more nuanced and accessible approach to recognizing deception. By focusing on verbal and nonverbal cues, we can develop methods that are more reliable and easier to use in everyday situations. This approach has the potential to improve our ability to detect lies and reduce the risk of false positives and false negatives. Analyzing language provides a powerful alternative, offering insights into the cognitive processes associated with lying. By examining the way people speak and behave, we can identify patterns that are indicative of deception. This approach is not only more reliable but also more practical, as it does not require specialized equipment or training. In the end, understanding the nuances of human communication may be the key to uncovering the truth. Our language changes when we lie. It's a subtle shift, often unnoticed by the untrained ear, but it's there. The words we choose, the way we structure our sentences, and even the tone of our voice can all betray our attempts to deceive. We choose different words and phrases. For instance, a person who is lying might use more complex sentences to sound convincing, or might avoid using first-person pronouns to distance themselves from the lie. We structure our sentences differently. A liar might use passive voice to obscure their involvement, or might repeat certain phrases to buy time while they think of what to say next. This is because lying takes more effort than telling the truth. The cognitive load of fabricating a story and keeping track of the details can cause stress and anxiety, which can manifest in our language and behavior. Our brains work harder to invent a story and make it believable. This increased mental effort can lead to longer pauses, more filler words, and other signs of cognitive strain. This effort leaves traces in our language. These traces can be subtle, but they are detectable with the right tools and techniques. Linguistic text analysis is a powerful tool that can help us identify these subtle changes in language. By examining the words and phrases people use, we can gain insights into their true intentions and emotions. This technique involves analyzing written or spoken language for specific patterns and cues that are associated with deception. It can be used in various fields, from law enforcement to psychology, to uncover the truth. By examining factors such as pronoun usage, word choice, sentence structure, and emotional tone, linguistic text analysis can reveal inconsistencies and patterns that may indicate an attempt to deceive. For example, a sudden change in emotional tone or an unusual choice of words can be a red flag. This approach is based on the premise that our language reflects our thoughts and intentions, even when we try to conceal them. By paying close attention to the way people communicate, we can uncover hidden truths and gain a deeper understanding of their true feelings and motivations. One common pattern of deception is reduced self-references. When people lie, they often distance themselves from the story. They use fewer first-person pronouns like I or me. Instead, they use more third-person pronouns like he, she, or they. This distancing language helps them feel less responsible for the lie. This linguistic shift reflects a subconscious attempt to create psychological distance between the liar and their fabrication. By reducing self-references, liars try to minimize their ownership of the lie, making it easier to present a false narrative without feeling the full weight of their deception. Section 4. The language of guilt, negativity and discomfort. Liars often experience negative emotions like guilt, shame, or fear. These emotions can leak out in their language. They might use more negative words like hate, stupid, or terrible. They might also use more negative emotion words like sad, angry, or afraid. The increased use of negative language is a reflection of the cognitive dissonance and emotional turmoil that often accompany deception. Liars may try to suppress or rationalize their negative emotions, but these emotions can still manifest in their language, betraying their true feelings. Section 5. Keeping it simple. Deception through oversimplification. Lying is mentally taxing. To reduce the cognitive load, liars often simplify their explanations. They avoid complex sentences and difficult vocabulary. They stick to simple, straightforward language. While this may seem counterintuitive, it's a way to avoid getting caught in inconsistencies or contradictions. This simplification extends beyond sentence structure to the overall narrative. Liars tend to present streamlined versions of events, omitting details that might expose their deception. By keeping their stories simple, liars hope to reduce the chances of raising suspicion or being caught in inconsistencies. Section 6. Tangled webs, lies hidden in excessive detail. While some liars oversimplify, others go in the opposite direction. They weave intricate tales filled with an abundance of details that seem almost too perfect. This tactic is often used to create a facade of credibility. They provide too much detail, often including information that seems irrelevant or unnecessary. This can make their stories appear more believable at first glance. They add unnecessary information to their stories, hoping that the sheer volume of details will distract the listener from the core of the lie. This is another way to mask the lie. By overwhelming the listener with details, the liar creates a smokescreen that obscures the truth. The listener gets lost in the details and misses the inconsistencies. The more complex the story, the harder it is to spot the lie. This tactic, known as overloading, is a form of obfuscation. It's a deliberate attempt to confuse and mislead. By overwhelming the listener with unnecessary details, liars aim to create a smokescreen that obscures the truth. They hope that the listener will be so caught up in the minutiae that they won't notice the inconsistencies. The listener, bombarded with information, may struggle to discern the relevant from the irrelevant, making it easier for the liar to slip away undetected. This method of deception is particularly effective because it preys on the listener's cognitive overload, making it difficult to process and question the information presented.